Hello, everybody, and welcome to Game Hump, the weekly show that we're going to do every single week from now until eternity. And this week, I'm very excited to introduce our guest today, and his name is Ben.
Hey, yeah.
Well, Ben, are you going to do some kind of wild introduction, or are you going to just sit there and point your fingers at the screen?
Usually I just point. I'm a pointer. I'm Ben. I'm a really big, I would say more like 90s, 2000 gamer. I like more like horror, first-person shooters, MMOs.
Well,
Those are my
hold
two
on,
big
hold on a
things.
minute, hold on a
Whoa,
minute. Did
whoa.
you just say horror or horror?
Both?
Oh, okay,
We got it.
okay. No, that's good. What I'm basically looking to do here with this very exact show, we're gonna try our best to get people through that midweek hump, and that's why the show is gonna be called Game Hump. We're going to talk about current events. We're going to talk about our favorite games. We're going to talk about what's going on in the industry, what's going on in a small gaming community, large gaming communities, local gaming communities, all kinds of fun stuff. And each week we're going to try to add more people to it, try to get more interactive with other people that are watching it. It's going to be something that hopefully will entertain and also be exciting and interesting to people. So I'm really excited to have Ben here. Ben, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I kind of wanted to give everyone a quick little dose as to what this even is all about. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
Word. So, and I'm not even sure if the camera is bouncing between you and me when we talk. I don't know if there's an auto feature of that. So I'm just doing it manually, but that's fine. I'll do it manually. I'm not really too concerned about it. But I'm really excited to have you here, Ben. Thanks for taking the time. Real short notice. I just bounced this off you just like today. I'm like, hey, how about tonight? And you're like, well, I guess we'll do it tonight. But yeah, you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and introductions. What was like the first game console that you got into?
The first game console was, I think it was a Super Nintendo that I got. And that was like right around the time the 64 came in. But, alright, so I had this Super Nintendo. My buddy had a 64. My other buddy had a Nintendo. I hated the person with the 64 because he had the new console. I was sick and tired of the Super Nintendo because I could only play 3 games. So I'd just go over to my buddy and play the Nintendo because he had hundreds, because the games were like, they weren't cheap, but they were cheaper back then, so he had just tons of them.
Yeah, totally. I know what you mean, man. When the N64 was starting to come out, and that was 1996 when that was first released, I actually kind of boycotted that whole generation for a long time. It was like 1997, I shouldn't say late 97, but mid 97 before I finally jumped into that generation. And when I did, that was actually with the Sega Saturn. I was hanging on to that 16-bit era as long as I could, with the Genesis, the Super NES, and the TurboGrafx 16. I enjoyed that way more than I liked what was being offered on the N64.
Right. And then once I got into, I would say, the 64 era, I was going to my friend's house to play the PlayStation 1. And what really got me a hold of gaming was a little game called Silent Hill. That game just nosedived me into gaming, and I couldn't stop from there.
Whoa, hold on. Did you just say nosedived?
I did.
Oh, okay, good. Well, that's really awesome. So what would you say would be one of your favorite consoles of all time? Would it be the PlayStation because of Silent Hill, or was it?
I would say it would be the PlayStation 2.
Ooh.
Just for all the memorable RPGs and horror games that came out of it. You had Silent Hill, 2 through 4. You had Resident Evil, Code Veronica X, of course. Resident Evil 4 after they ported it over. You had the Guilty Gear franchise. You had, you know, Jack and Daxter. You had the Dot Hack series. Oh my God, the Dot Hack series. You can't forget about that. So I would say that would be my favorite for quality of games.
And not to mention, it was also backwards compatible, so
Yes.
you could play all of the PS1 games.
And you could play your favorite CD on it too. And DVD.
And DVDs, yep, that's true. Yeah, I liked the PlayStation 2 a lot too. I was holding a bit of a grudge against it for a long time though. I was a big Dreamcast fan. I loved the Dreamcast all the way until the end. Speaking of Dreamcast, there's actually a game that just came out recently. I believe it was released on Sunday. You can legally download a copy of it and burn your own copy onto a CDR. Volgar the Viking, which was an Xbox One slash. Yeah, that's actually out on Dreamcast right now, and they released PDFs of the instruction manual, so you can use an instruction manual.
But
What are you doing?
nothing.
All right, yeah. So anyway, that's cool. My introductions are maybe not even that much needed right now. I don't know if anybody's a subscriber on the Game Huggers YouTube channel, or if you're a subscriber on my actual channel that this is being presented on right now, which is just Joshua Yeager at the YouTubes. I'm mostly interested in retro gaming. I love anything that I grew up with. I never really grew out of those types of games. So to hear new game consoles, to hear information or issues or bugs and patches and all this stuff that are out with the game consoles that are currently popular, things like the PS4, the Xbox One. I do enjoy games on those every once in a while, but I kind of almost consider it a completely different or separate genre slash universe compared to what the gaming that I'm used to calling gaming is gaming. People call shooters now what I used to call or still call first-person shooters. If it's a shooter game, it's like Call of Duty, or it's like you know, the Battlefield games. I think of those as first-person shooters. I always have. They're like Doom, you know. But now those are shooters. And when I grew up, shooters were games like Gradius or Blazing Lasers or Lords of Thunder. Those were shooters. And now they're called shoot 'em ups or whatever. But I definitely prefer old game consoles. I think I have a lot more fun with them. I prefer old game consoles on CRT monitors. I enjoy playing games with people. I like to have, you know, people over to have game nights and stuff like that. I also run and help out with some game conventions where I get to bring all of the crap that I've collected over the years to places like the Midwest Gaming Classic or the Video Game Summit or EverCon, which is a local convention, or even our own little creation that we made that's held every year in September or October, and that's LinkCon or Pizza and Games. Those are the kind of things I like to have a big gaming library in preparation for shows like that, and that's a lot of fun to me. Some of my favorite games that came out, it would depend on what genre you're talking about, but I'm really excited about right now. I'm in a Famicom mode. I just got a twin Famicom. Actually, I can show you that real quick. We'll do that right here. Is a brand new universe to me. All right, and I'm gonna smash everything. This is a twin Famicom. In Japan, this is sort of like the more advanced version of the NES that came out. Ooh, look at that baby. And it has everything that a normal NES would have. The game cartridges go on top, and it actually has right over here where the Famicom disc drives would go. I actually just got this at Pizza and Games from Windy Games, or Chris. You know him from Windy Games at all. His stuff is the highest quality. It's absolutely fantastic. And this system has totally got me hooked right now. I wound up picking up this and a multi-cart. It's like 401.
Hold on. What game was in there?
Yeah, I know. It's actually a picture of Resident Evil 6, I believe.
5.
Yep. Whatever, yeah, 5. And then I got Rockman 5 and Adventure Island 3. and Bonk's Adventure, which came out on the Famicom as well. And I'm just having a really good time with it. I love this stuff. The NES is one of my favorite consoles of all time. Some of my favorite NES games are like the Castlevania series, Batman's, Ninja Gaiden's, Double Dragon 2. Those are like the best things in the world to me. But in the 16-bit era, I was all about the TurboGrafx and the Super Nintendo. I mean, some of the games that came out for that, your Final Fantasy VI's, Secret of Mana, and then for the Turbo, it's like Dungeon Explorer 2, Lords of Thunder, Gate of Thunder. I mean, I could go on and on for days about this, my introduction about things that I'm interested in. But that's really what drives me to be a gamer, or it keeps me interested in gaming, is to find games that are like this. So when you're talking about consoles that are out right now, or systems that are big and popular now, when I see a style of game that plays similar to the games that I grew up with, I'm instantly attracted to it. So something like Volgar the Viking, or Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight is brilliant. I love that game so much. It's so fun. Those are really what interests me when I think of like games of the year type things. I'm always thinking about games like that. But one that I'm actually really excited about that I actually pre-ordered was Read Only Memories, that is being released. I believe it's on Android and Steam and a few other places. But the place I pre-ordered it on was actually the Ouya, which is a little Android game console that came out in 2013 that just celebrated its 2-year anniversary, which I'm not sure it's going to go on much longer than this 2 years. But I'm really excited about the Ouya. I had a good time with it. I thought the money that was put into it, which is very minimal, was worth it. And it was a fun system to have. I had a great time with all the free games, got to try everything for free and play it, pay for it if I enjoyed it. I thought a lot of the concepts that it had and a lot of the games were really fun. And I never had as many issues as a lot of other people had with it. So I'm really happy to say that it was a lot of fun. And I'm really looking forward to Read Only Memories. And if you don't know what Read Only Memories is, take a look. Look it up. It's a really cool game, and everybody should be playing it.
Yeah.
Holy crap, did I just... Oh, I guess that's the end of the show now.
Goodbye, everybody. That was an hour.
But no, I'm excited. It's a good time to be a gamer, honestly, because there's a lot of really good stuff coming out, and everyone should have access to everything. I mean, regardless of what direction you're going in or what console you've purchased in this current generation, you should be happy and you should be having a good time. Every system offers plenty right now, so you have no idea how difficult it was in, say, the mid-90s. When it was the Super NES era, or Super NES and Genesis era, and everyone was expecting the next console. Everyone was waiting for it, like, okay, there's going to be something more powerful coming. And when the Super Nintendo and the Genesis were the kings, I mean, everybody was coming out with these new ideas. The Sega had the 32X. Well, the people that spent $150 on a 32X, do you think they were super happy? I don't know. Maybe. But there weren't a whole lot of great games that came out for the 32X. The Sega CD, it had a lot of good games for it, but, again, was it really worth the price of admission? Then there was the Atari Jaguar, the CDI, the 3DO. The list kind of goes on and on. There were so many systems that came out at that time. You could put a huge investment in, or you could have your parents get you that Christmas present you've always been waiting for. But the fact is that the system lasted for a year or two, and there weren't that many great games that came out for it, especially if you're a CDI owner, which I feel very, very bad for anybody that wound up getting a CDI under their Christmas tree one year. But yeah, it's a weird time because you had to be really careful. You might as well had just gone with the systems that everyone had, like the Nintendos or the Segas or the PlayStations at the time. But yeah, I mean, there was a good chance that whatever system you picked could have been the wrong one, and you wind up getting really bored with it real quick, and that's unfortunate. Today, you don't really see that very much. I mean, I guess, Ouya, you maybe could get bored with that if you wanted games that were more like Metal Gear Solid 5 or something. But I mean,
I don't think you would go for Ouya if you're going for one of those like top-end, huge, publishing game, developed games.
That's true. So, kind of segueing into this, then I kind of talked a little bit about what I'm currently playing or what I'm currently interested in. What about you? What are some games that you're currently playing, Ben?
Right now I'm hooked on Destiny.
Destiny. What's
Yeah,
that?
Destiny. It's an MMO for the consoles, the Xbox One and the PS4. It's from the creators of Halo, and they made the first person shooter MMO, which
Okay.
we thought Blizzard would make, but since Activision is partnered with Blizzard and with Bungie, huge thing on that, it doesn't matter. They just released their year one expansion that is just blowing up, and everyone who likes Bungie and likes Halo and has heard about Destiny is jumping on, the bandwagon to play. Um, if you want to, learn more, go to Bungie.net to find out.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Are you trying to tell people about Destiny? You're saying Destiny was from the makers of Halo?
Yeah,
Oh,
since
so
Microsoft
is
bought out, Halo from Bungie,
right.
and Bungie's like, you know what, we're gonna make our own game because we're kind of sick of Halo. So they created Destiny, which is
Now, do you think Destiny is better than Halo?
um, whew, whew, lordy, lordy. I would say Destiny is as good as an original IP as Halo was when it came out. I
Okay,
think
because I
Halo,
mean,
yeah,
the very first Halo was kind of revolutionary. It made
yep,
people realize that you can do a first-person shooter on a console. You can do multiplayer online on a console. Like Halo was gigantic.
yeah. Um, so I mean, there's parts that can be fixed. Like when it launched, there's like no story. There's like 4 hours of story, and then you need to make up the rest. Like it was horrible. And now after a year, I think they got to the point that it should have been at launch, but because Bungie has such a huge following that they can make up for it where other games couldn't after a whole year of failure. So
So
they
when Destiny launched, though, was it buggy? Was it just gameplay was completely like you're incapable of actually playing it? Was it the type of thing that was crippling?
no, it was actually the story was
Oh,
crippling
okay,
because
okay,
you get this little bit of story of what's going on, who you are, why is this happening, and then that's it. Like you
okay.
like somebody walks up to you and goes, "Hey, you're dead, but I resurrected you to kill aliens." Bye. And then you have the, then you have like this 6 months period of just going like, why is this in here? Why do I have to do this? And then they have like really, really vague descriptions for like everything. They're like, these people live here, kill them. Like, what? I don't. It was weird, but they started adding more story to it, more in depth, like really caring for some of the NPCs in the game. And
Okay.
right now, it's a really solid game. It's really solid. You have the MMO grind, in there to gain everything instead of just a random loot table. That you could be the luckiest person ever and get the best, gear and best weapon, and then never have to play it again. Now you actually have to play and play and play and play to eventually get these high-end items.
It sounds a little bit like when Square came out with Final Fantasy 14, and however that game was broken to the point of it was almost unplayable. A lot of people jumped off of it almost as soon as it started because of how buggy it was, and servers weren't ready for people and all kinds of crap. But when they wound up a year and a half later coming out with A Realm Reborn, a lot of people were excited about it and said that the gameplay was fixed and a lot of the elements in the game that were wrong or broken before had been fixed. So that was kind of neat. But this sounds like it's more or less just basically the game came out, it wasn't exactly fleshed out, but now it's got better game control and it's got a better storyline and it's got all kinds of things that apparently you guys that are Destiny heads are really interested in or excited about.
Yeah, yeah. It's they added a whole new. They they make it seem like the past expansions weren't for naught. Like most
Okay.
expansions happen, and then you're like, throw everything away. Who cares? This one's kind of like, what we did for the whole year ends up into this expansion, and now we have to pay for, our consequences or beat the bad guy, so to speak.
Okay.
Besides that, there's a little game that I'm playing. Just a little game. It's called the Rocket League. If you've heard about this.
I have not. No. Rocket League, is that an Android game or is that a
Rocket League. It's a PS4 and PC game that has cross-platform, and
really?
it's RC cars in soccer. You drive these cars that can jump and do flips and turbo and everything, and you just hit this giant ball around like soccer.
That's kind of cool.
And you have 1v1 up to 4v4, and it's really simple. Like, you look at it, you're like, this can't be that hard, and then you play it, and then 10 hours go by. Like, it's just addicting as heck. And I just catch myself playing it more and more and more and more. And then after, had to wake up for work, and I'm still playing it going, I hit the snooze. I don't really need to be awake for work, do I? I'm good.
So did you say it was called? You said it was called Rocket Knight Adventure.
No, it was it was called Rocket League.
Rocket League. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds pretty cool. Hey, what are some games that are coming out soon that you're excited about, or anything that's like maybe even holiday season?
Holiday season. Well, let me get right into it.
Let you get right into it. Why don't we get right into it? I don't even know what's coming out this holiday season. I kind of don't care. But I do know there's a Halo 5 coming out, I believe, right, for this?
There's Halo 5 for Xbox One. There's Black Ops 3. The big titles that everyone knows. Assassin's Creed.
There's another Black Ops game?
Yep.
Oh.
It's the third one. It's bigger, blacker, and uncut. That's what it should be called.
Exciting.
But no, for 3DS coming out, it's Dragon Ball Z Extreme Budoden. I think I'm saying that right.
Bakuden? Bakuden?
No, it's Butuden. Butuden?
Dragon Ball Z
Extreme
One Piece?
No.
Is that what you said?
No. It's called Extreme Budoden.
Is that one of those Destiny Warriors games where it's like versus Dragon Ball Z or whatever now?
No. It's made from Arc System Works, who made the Guilty Gears game.
Really?
Yeah, it's basically DBZ with, it looks like the mechanics of like Marvel vs. Capcom.
Interesting. So is that called Rumblefish?
We'll call it Rumblefish.
Okay, so it's Rumblefish and Dragon Ball Z characters. It's called Bakudan.
Called Dragon Ball Z Extreme Budoden. That's all. It's coming out sometime in October, I believe.
Nice. We're almost in
October 20th.
Are you dressing up for Halloween?
I am.
As what?
I'm going to be Schmidt from 22 Jump Street.
Oh, for real?
And, one of my buddies, he's going to play Jenko, and we're going to team up.
Oh, like Giant Jenko?
No, like Jenko and...
Oh, you mean Jenga, like that wood pulling game?
Yeah, like Jenko, but totally different. It's like when you like Plinko.
Oh, from The Price is Right.
Yep.
Do you think that Drew Carey is doing as good a job as he should be? I mean, in regards to replacing Bob Barker?
I mean, he looks like he's about to kneel over anytime soon. So
Bob Barker or Drew Carey?
Drew Carey.
Kneel Bob over? Barker. Like fall?
Like keel, like just die. I don't know what happened to this man, but I think in the application process...
You said kneel. You didn't say keel. You said
I
Keel.
you know what?
You
Yeah.
meant to say you meant to say Keel, but you said Neil.
Uh, 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 uh,
Did you say Neil or
no,
Keel?
nope.
Did you say Keel?
I said Keel and Peel.
Now that's a good show.
It
Wait, that's
is.
Key and Peele. Key and Peele.
Yeah, that's what
That's
I
good
said.
stuff.
Keel and Peel. It's fine. It's good.
That's good. Okay, so
But no, like I think Drew Carey, he looks. I don't know what happened to him from the '90s until now, but he looks like he's about to die, and I think that's what people like application process. Uh, you look like you're about to die. Yeah, you know, just go. You got 30 more years to the show, so don't actually die. Like
he's lost a lot of weight. I know that's
he
for
did,
sure. He
and
does
now
look
he has a neck vagina.
what
It's
you just
it's there.
wow.
It's fine. It's in scientific books.
Hey, speaking of neck vaginas, I heard Nintendo postponed Star Fox for the Nintendo Wii U.
That is true.
Well, what the hell is up with that, Ben? Do you know anything about this?
I wasn't like part of Nintendo's plan, but I guess they delayed it until the first quarter of next year.
Well, here's the thing though. Here's the thing that's it sucks and it's like yeah, I mean that's disappointing to not get a major first party title for a holiday season. But I would much rather get a completed game, and that's something that you don't get a lot in this industry in 2015. Games are rushed, and then I'm looking at you know, Ubisoft and EA, who constantly put shit out on shelves. You got the Assassin's Creed games, you've got Madden football, you've got you know all of the Call of Duties and everything else that Activision pumps out as well. Where it's like we have to get them by November, whatever, you know, this certain date it has to be out, has to be out, and the developers could be like, hey, we're not ready. Like this is not ready for the people yet, and they can do like a 2 week beta, and it's like, yeah, this is good enough, we're good. Then they'll send it out, and then everyone will complain about all the issues, and then they'll send out a patch that'll take an hour and a half to download, and it's just miserable, and everyone makes fun of it. Nintendo looks at that as such a major flaw. And on one side, I'm like, you guys have really not hit the ball out of the ballpark here with these AAA titles that we're expecting. And Star Fox is something that we haven't really gotten a good Star Fox game since the N64 in the late 90s. So
Well,
it's kind of like we're all sitting here waiting for this game, and to find out it's delayed is also disappointed. We're also very disappointed. Just we're disappointed,
don't you
but we're
remember?
also
Don't you remember Star Fox Adventures?
no, I don't, Ben. But what we are also very happy about is to see that Nintendo actually cares about the consumers, and Nintendo's actually like we have somebody looking out for us, and that's Nintendo, because they don't want to put some kind of piece of junk out on the shelf that they're going to have to patch 3 times just to make the game playable. They're going to wait until it's ready to go, and when we get it in March or whatever it is going to be next year, it's going to be really fun and it's going to be awesome. And I should say I hope all these things are going to be really fun. But I'm excited. I can't wait to see it. I love Star Fox games. One of my favorite games is the Super NES version of Star Fox. I think it's a wonderful game. It was one of the most mind-blowing things to see, polygons on a 16-bit system. But yeah, I'm disappointed to hear about it being delayed. But honestly, I'm not angry about it. Nintendo did just release Splatoon and Mario Maker, and
Right.
Wii U fans should be ecstatic about those kind of games. That's huge. And what are some other big titles that are coming out for the Wii U this holiday season? I can't remember.
A Wii U, there is definitely Yoshi's Woolly World, which is basically the success on the Kirby's Yarn game. They decided to make
And
this
I
cutesy.
didn't really like Kirby. I didn't really like Kirby Epic Yarn. I thought it was way too easy and way too cutesy. It was made for like 5-year-olds, and I don't mean that in any kind of a negative way. It's just it is. Kirby games are sometimes easy and sometimes difficult. Mostly they lean towards the easy side, but they're always really fun and the levels are really imaginative.
Right.
Kirby's Epic Yarn was like the worst of all of those. It was like the levels were boring. They looked really pretty, you know, and Nintendo Wii's, you know, 480i or whatever it was. but you couldn't die, and the levels were so easy. You could probably just hit right and just jump all the way through them, and you would get
Well, I don't
rewards.
think it was for our demographic. You know,
No, and that's what worries me about this Yoshi's Yarn game is that it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be for 5-year-olds again, and that's just
well,
not interesting to me.
going on the mature route, there is Fatal Frame Maiden of Black Water coming out for the
Whoa,
Wii U.
did you just say mature?
Yes, I said mature.
Oh, okay.
Not to be mistaken with mature
Or manure.
or manure. Definitely not manure. I hope this game isn't manure.
So you
Because
like the Fatal Frame games then?
all right, this is weird. I love Fatal Frame. I'm just too chicken to play them. I played all of them back in the day, but now I'm just like just I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird thing. I love horror games. I love playing them, but I'm always afraid to play them because I have a weak heart.
Is it
Uh,
is it is it horror games or is it like ghosts that freak you out? Because Fatal Frame is not about zombies and monsters and
no,
things like 50 tentacles coming at you and blowing you to pieces. It's about really kind of thought provoking and like almost subtle freakouts that happen that you could be a half an hour into the game before you see anything. Everything's very eerie and the floors are creaking
yeah,
and the rooms are dark and the electricity is flickering and the candles are burning out. But you don't get a whole lot of violently scary things in the Fatal Frame games. They were beautifully done the way that they were subtle and they spooked the living crap out of you.
yeah. The big thing with Fatal Frame when it came out was it wasn't where you get a gun and you can shoot things. It's a girl who has this camera that
Right?
you have to fight these ghostly spirits with this camera. And when you go into the places you're walking around, you're not seeing the character. You're seeing what's around her because you can walk around and see a corridor and see like a ghost walk by. Just that like weird freak out thing. And the trailer for this new one has no dialogue in it. It's just eerily the music just creeps you out. And it looks good. It uses the Wii U gamepad as more of your camera. So when you like see things, you have to actually pick it up and use it as a camera, which is really cool. I mean,
That's
it's gonna be a workout.
that sounds really cool. I know they can do a lot of really interesting things with the Wii U gamepad. Do you have a Wii U?
I don't, but this game is definitely making me want to get one. I
Is
know about Splatoons. I know about Hyrule Warriors and Mario Maker, but this game is the one that's like I really want to play this. Like,
Are you bummed out at all about the fact that it's going to be a download only versus an actual physical release?
no, because I'm just glad they finally did make a spin-off game. Whichever way they want to bring it, I think the reason they're bringing it to the States is because of download only. Because they don't want to put that much money into it. If this franchise is dead, I think they
Sure.
kind of want to put it out there and see if it makes money, and if it does, then they'll probably make a physical copy down the road. But they just don't want to like spend so much money and then find out that the survival horror franchise, the Fatal Frame franchise, died with the PS2 and Xbox. Because
Sure.
their spinoff for the DS, like a spear camera, I think it's called spear camera, that didn't do well. But of course, it was not from the same company, and it wasn't made to be like an actual Fatal Frame. It was the spinoff, and it just was so bad. It's cringeworthy. It's definitely the room level cringeworthy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. No, I was wondering about that too. I knew that the DS did get a version, but I didn't know if it was like a direct port of like the PS2 one or something like that. But that's an interesting concept because I don't know if a lot of mature games do really well, or even if the Fatal Frame games are mature or not. I don't know. But it's like I didn't think that they would think that's a great idea anyway to bring it out on the 3DS or the DS or whatever, because those are more your casual gamers or your games that are kind of okay for everyone. I think a majority of people that play the DSs and the 3DSs are kids, even like late teens and early 20s. And if you're going to come out with a survival horror style game, you kind of want to be fully immersed into the console with the surround sound speakers and a nice size TV and whatever, to kind of completely engulf yourself into the game. Whereas a handheld, it's like, I'm not really getting creeped out because the screen is it's big,
Yeah, I think the company decided to go with Nintendo is for the gamepad.
Yeah, I mean that is a really universal way to play games. It's a really, not universal, I should say. It's a really original idea, a way to play games with that. It's the only system that has a screen on the controller. So if you want to do some interesting concepts with that, I mean that's the system to do it for. It's unfortunate. It's a smaller group of people that own Wii U's as versus like a PS4. If it came out on the PS4, there's a good chance a lot more people might get to play it.
That's true. Also, Wii U, the final thing that's coming out is Xenoblade Chronicles X in December.
That's right. That's the big one. Honestly, when I first heard about the Wii U and they had trailers about that, that was the big one. That's the one I've been mostly looking forward to, and I cannot wait to see what that gameplay is going to be like. It looks awesome.
Yeah, and I think the first Xenoblades game kind of screwed itself over with only being available at GameStop right away.
Yeah.
Well,
if it wasn't for GameStop, it may not even gotten released here, from what I understand.
Give or take.
I don't know.
But I mean, they could have at least brought it later onto everything else instead of just bringing it back on the 3DS, I think, and just doing some goofy things.
That's right.
They should have just kind of worked it out more and was just like, oh, we're just going to give it to everyone.
Yeah.
Because GameStop's really crooked in a lot of things they do.
Yes,
That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Nothing bad to the people that work there. Just their decisions are really, really shifty.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the people, the guys who work there and make a living, just the guys behind the counter and the guys that are helping you find games if you need help finding games or answering questions, they're good people, and they're all instructed to say what they do, and they're all looking on a computer and finding out information. If you bring in a game that's rare and they only give you $6 of store credit, it's not because they're jerks and they're trying to rip you off. It's because that's what the system tells them to, and that's what their upper management tells them to do. It's unfortunate. I'm not a fan of GameStop at all either. I do look there and shop there once in a while. I've picked up a few good things from them over the years. I think Game Informer is a complete waste of paper. It's a terrible game magazine. I haven't read one seriously in years. I think it's just garbage. And that's all part of the GameStop family, is that magazine. So it's like one of the only few gaming magazines that are left that are about current consoles. I'm not even sure if Play is still a magazine, and I don't remember if EGM is still going anymore either. But
I think so.
Those were good magazines. Game Informer is not. We could do an entire episode about game magazines if we wanted to. Right. But yeah, GameStop I'm not a big fan of. And one thing that they've done recently that I'm even less of a fan of, that has actually kind of pissed me off, is that they're trying to get into retro gaming, and they're buying and selling retro games. They don't sell the retro games in store, at least not very often, but they buy them from people and give them store credit or cash, which is very, very low, and then sell them online. They have a lot of rare games on their websites now. I've seen Mega Man X3, I've seen Earthbound, I've seen Chrono Triggers, all the Dragon Warriors for NES on GameStop.com. The prices are actually pretty comparable to what other game stores are selling them for. The problem is that GameStop themselves have kind of contributed to this, rare or having a hard time finding of retro games in game stores and stuff now. GameStop for a long time in the late 90s and early 2000s, all the way up until, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, they were taking in retro games of all kinds. But when they weren't selling them, what were they doing with them? A lot of people said that they were destroying old games or just throwing them in dumpsters. That's why, like, you always hear these stories about GameStop dumpster diving. You can find game consoles and games and instruction manuals and stand-ups and all kinds of stuff. It's terrifying that they're throwing this stuff away instead of just donating it or selling it or whatever. But another thing that they have been doing is just filling up a warehouse full of retro games. It means they probably have a pallet full of Earthbounds, or you know, imagine a pallet full of like Final Fantasy III's from the Super NES. Like, this is, it sounds like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, like, who has that? But honestly, they probably do have a warehouse full of retro games, and they can pull them out at any time and sell them off just to get rid of them or destroy them or whatever they want to do with them. But now they're selling them at what they consider as market value, and this is the most inflated that the gaming market has been ever before. Super Nintendo games, just average average Super Nintendo games going for $20 or $30 that were $5 to $10 just a year ago. Like,
I mean, Chrono Trigger jumped in 4 months from $60 to $100.
Yep.
Like, that shouldn't happen in like 4 months.
No,
you know?
And that's the problem too, is that when you go to GameStop's website and you see how much they're charging for a Chrono Trigger, then all the other game stores that are local to them, or even, you know, other types of chains are trying to match them, saying, oh, they're trying to charge $89 for Chrono Trigger. Well, we only charge 60. Let's get our price up to 89 too, so we can, you know, try to match them and stay up with them. And it's like, it sucks. GameStop is a shitty company. I'm not a big fan of theirs at all.
But anyway, back to games. There's a guilty pleasure that I have, and I know you have the same pleasure, maybe not in the game, but in the franchise itself, and that's wrestling. The new WWE game, 2K16, is coming out, and I know it's just year and year, just bringing in the same thing, but these people they got to like join up.
Well, what are you, Zach Hagenbusher here? I don't want to talk about wrestling. I don't want to talk about wrestling.
All I want to say,
the only good wrestling game I've ever played in the last 5 years was TNA Impact. They all suck. Let's talk about something else.
I'm just saying Mick Foley is awesome and he's in the game. But so Fallout's coming out for a holiday, and that's a big one.
You know, Mick Foley was great in WWF No Mercy on the N64. That was a great wrestling game.
Yeah, I own that game.
That's a fun one.
I loved it when 3 Pixels did this.
Hey, it wasn't. It was like seven. I don't know what I was trying to say there. It's like 7 frames of animation in a polygon. That's impressive, man. Don't rip on that.
But no, I mean Fallout 4 is coming out.
Yes, that's true. On the same day as the new Tomb Raider, I believe. Tomb Raider Revenge or something like that.
What? No, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. What'd you say? It's
the same day as Tomb Raider?
It's like games matter other than Fallout 4. You're like, oh, there's games coming out. No one cares about any other game coming out on that day.
Wait.
I think here's a big thing. I think the people that made the release date for Tomb Raider should have switched that right away once they found out Fallout 4 was coming out the same day.
That's the thing, though, is I think, and I don't know I don't know anything. This is just from conversations that I've had recently, but I think that Fallout 4 was originally scheduled for October, and then it got pushed to November, which was the same date that the new Tomb Raider is coming out on. And it's not really the Tomb Raider people's fault. It's their date initially. Like, they picked it first. Fallout fell back into it.
Well, yeah, but I still would have switched it. I would have been like, how close is this game to be complete? Let's bring it out the week before to make our numbers. You know, because people will be playing Fallout 4 for months without, you know, stopping and caring about anything else. So I just think them keeping that date is a bad thing.
Well, what about... So when Fallout 4 comes out, you think that the only thing people will be playing is Fallout 4?
I think they'll be playing other games, but they'll be the major. You can look on your friends list, and there'll be like Destiny, 40 people playing Fallout 4, and 1 person playing FIFA.
What about Halo 5? I thought that was going to be a big holiday splash too. There's going to be.
It'll come out, people will play it, and then they'll be done after like a month.
Really?
Yep, that's what I believe. Because
Wow.
Halo 4 came out, and that was the way for me. I'm like, gonna get Halo 4, gonna play it, played it, beat the story, kind of got bored of it, put it down.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
I'm saying Fallout 4 is gonna be
The
1,
big holiday
game of the year, and 2, the biggest grossing game in the holiday season.
Do you have a console that plays the Halo Fallout franchise?
I have a PS4,
Okay,
so I'll be playing Fallout 4.
very cool. My our
Um,
family has an Xbox One for the Xbone.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what we picked.
it's fine.
It's fine.
It
Actually,
has,
we have a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of really great games for it. I know that Microsoft is feeling a little bit of pressure now from being really far down in console sales. I was looking at some numbers just from August, which is still just last month, but early August on numbers of console sales, and the PS4 was already up to 24 million consoles sold. The Xbox One was at about 13, and the Wii was at just hit 10. And that 10 might actually be a 12 or a 13 now as well for the Wii U, whereas the Xbox
yeah.
One, I don't know if it's had a real elevation. But I don't know if you knew or not, but Mario Maker, when that was released in September, just earlier this month, in Japan, that game alone actually doubled console sales of the Wii U in total for Japan. They had like 2.5 million consoles sold for the Wii U, and it actually jumped to 5 just when Mario Maker was released. And it was just announced, I believe, yesterday, or maybe it was just this morning, I can't remember when, that Mario Maker has already sold 1 million copies. It's been out since the 18th. Like, that's what, 12 days? That's amazing. And that game looks amazing, by the way.
Yeah, I've seen some videos on people making like their levels, and
I
it
know.
looks fun.
I really wish we had a Wii U so I could try those out.
If,
I
if
really, really would love to play some Mario levels that people have made, some really ingenious looking ones. It looks like so much fun.
I think I would quit my job and just play that game if I had it. Like, playing millions and millions and millions of levels, and then be like, yeah, I don't need to eat either. I'll just, eventually just whittle away. It's fine. I got Mario to play. It's good.
Yeah, it looks really fun. I think that when you were talking about earlier about games that would come out that make you want to purchase a system, for you is Fatal Frame. For me, I think it would be Mario Maker, the game that I'd want to get the Wii U for. But speaking of that too, next year in December, so we were like 15 months away from this. But the big Kickstarter came out just a couple months ago. Was it June or July? For Shenmue III. And that we pre-ordered. We pre-ordered the $300 version, which is a special edition box set, all this kind of stuff that comes with it, some kind of signed strategy guide or something like that too. For the PS4, which is a system I don't even own yet. So we need to get a PS4 sometime in the next 15 months. So Shenmue 3 is my reason for buying a PS4. I think there's a lot of really great stuff coming out for it. It looks like a really cool system. I bet the games that do come out on PS4 are more fun to play on a PS4 versus an Xbox One. The controllers are, it depends on how big your hands are, but sometimes the controllers feel more comfortable to people. And I'm stoked and I'm excited to get a PS4. It's something that a lot of my friends have been saying, get a PS4. Why do you have an Xbox One? Like, get a PS4. But, the Xbox One is pretty cool in its own right.
Yeah, Shenmue 3. You didn't get the jacket pack?
Wasn't that like $5,000?
Yeah, it was like I think it was like 7,500, and
No.
you got the official jacket. No?
No, I didn't. But I thought about getting the Kung Fury one, which is only $250. There's a Kung Fury jacket. I want one. It looks really cool. It's $250 though, so who's gonna get that?
But yeah, Shenmue hasn't been relevant or been talked about having a new game.
Whoa! Whoa.
Hold on. What?
Whoa. Did you say it hasn't been relevant?
It hasn't.
Shenmue, along with Seaman, is the only game that is relevant.
Did you say semen?
Oh, hold on. What?
Did you say semen?
No, I said Seaman, you sicko. I said Seaman. I said Shenmue is the most important game. Shenmue 1 and 2 on the Dreamcast or the Xbox, the original Xbox with Shenmue 2 that came out in the US, are some absolutely immersive games that are completely open. I mean, it is Grand Theft Auto before Grand Theft Auto was Grand Theft Auto. These games are amazing, and I don't have to sit and explain it to you. You know Shenmue. I mean, you're not.
Just remember, you got to take your shoes off.
You always. It's just courtesy. That's the game. It's the game. It's a game where you play a character who has a conscience, and he's not completely available. Just go and like rape people and murder everyone. He's just a dude. You can get a job. You can collect video games. You can collect trinkets. You can go and buy food. You can be nice to people. You can get in fights in the middle of alleys. Like it's amazing, and you get revenge on the guy who killed your father. And the frickin' story has been left wide open for 15 years. Like it's on a cliffhanger since the end of Shenmue 2. Like this is, oh my God. One thing I have to do though is I have to play through Shenmue 1 and 2 before Shenmue 3 comes out. Like I gotta make myself do that. And that's gonna take me months with how slow I play games these days, but I gotta put everything on hold and just play through Shenmue 1 and 2. Because that's going to be awesome. To play through those again is like marathoning Star Wars before the new Star Wars movie comes out.
I just remember the first game where just every little bit, like you couldn't skip animations. Like if you walk through the door, you saw him walk through the door, take his shoes off, and then step. You couldn't just be like, all right, can I just go into the house? I don't need to see this every time. And you go into the house like 50 times a day. So it's like, oh my God.
Well, you got to just take it easy, man.
But
what's the rush?
I love the games. Rush? It was an RPG fighting game, like puzzle game. It was like everything.
They mixed Animal Crossings and Virtua Fighter.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's awesome. No, I'm really excited for that. That's my system seller. I'm going to get a PS4 just to get Shenmue 3. I mean, maybe that'll be the only game I ever get. I don't know. But
speaking of a system not selling, what was that? What was that Kickstarter failure that happened?
Holy crap, we could do a whole episode about that itself. It's not actually a Kickstarter, it was Indiegogo. And the reason why it was Indiegogo is because Kickstarter requires, if you want to try to start a Kickstarter to make a video game system like the Ouya did successfully 2 years ago, Kickstarter requires you to at least have a frickin' working prototype. The Retro VGS game console, which it's got some interesting ideas, but it's such a miserable failure, mainly because they had no substance. They had no way of actually giving people what they wanted, or giving people what they were even saying they could do. They didn't have a prototype. They didn't have any idea of how to get it done. They didn't have any concept. Like their ideas that they were coming up with just sounded so stupid, where it's just like, is this really a thing? Is this really going to be an actual thing? Or is it just, or do these people just, are they trolling everyone? Is it just a big joke and then they're just seeing how many people fall for it? Kind of like Donald Trump running for president or something. Is this the equivalent of that? I mean, seriously, it's...
I didn't see the Indiegogo actual like page, but the stuff I was hearing that they were looking for $2 million, which isn't that much for a new console. But then they were saying like once a console's released, it's going to be like a $400 console.
Yeah,
I think you have to pay for.
I think the original like black one was going to be $300. And then if you wanted specific colors, it was going to be, you're going to pay another $150 for shells or something like that. It's kind of funny because I was actually going to actually grab my Atari Jaguar for this show today, because it's the exact same shell. Like that shell is an Atari Jaguar. Jaguar. It's just the shell from that, and they're even using the same shells for the cartridges too, because well, that's what they got, and they fit in that shell. But they didn't have a working prototype. They didn't have any idea of how to get it even done. They're just like, this is what we're gonna do, and we got this guy who's gonna make this, and this guy's gonna make that. And we bought the the press to make these shells for you, and they wanted $2 million. And Indiegogo does not require you to have a working prototype. Does not really even require you to ever deliver on anything. It's just a way of getting you donations to make this thing. And they had a 45-day window to get this $2 million. They had, I believe, almost 200 people donating, and they were donating anywhere from $10 each to a couple $100 each to get the system. And I think they made almost, gosh, I don't remember what it was, maybe $150,000 or something like that.
I know they made like 3% of the asking.
Yep, that was it.
It was so low.
Yeah, and with everything kind of just when the SHIT hit the fan, everyone started pulling their money back out, because you can pull your money out if you're getting a little like, ooh, I don't know if this is actually going to happen. So you can actually undonate your money before the 45 days is up. And so many people started doing that they were down to like just slightly over 50,000 or maybe up to 60,000 left. And they're like, after a week of having this Indiegogo thing going, they're like, yeah, let's just not do it anymore. And they sent out an apology and said, if anybody would like to keep their money in the donation bin, you can do that. And we're going to continue to work on this. We're going to try really hard to keep it going, but for right now, we're pausing it or whatever. And the concept of it is kind of neat, because like we were just talking about earlier, Shovel Knight or Read Only Memories or Volgor the Viking, like those games are awesome and they're really fun and they're download only. The only way to play them is by downloading Air to your video game console. You never get to physically see it. You never get to page through an instruction manual. Like getting a console like the Retro VGS, if you were able to get a physical box with a cartridge, with an instruction manual, I mean, there's a certain amount of understanding on my part, because I love having a big library of games and being able to just pull a game out and look at it physically before you even put it in. Kind of go through whatever extra add-ons, maybe a poster, stuff like that's really cool to have. And if I could see a physical version of Shovel Knight or a physical version of Read Only Memories or a system like that's something I might actually do. Like, that makes sense to me. But the way that they tried to put it together and just trick people into giving them money without even having any clue of how to do it was really shady. And it exploded. If you want entertaining story from beginning to end over the last 2 weeks on how this whole thing just fell apart, check neogeo.com, check the Atari Age forums, and then a little bit blurbs here and there, just basically talking about what was happening on Atari Age at the PCEngineFX.com forums, because the story is just ridiculous how weird it got and how just completely screwed up the whole thing was from the get-go. Like, there were serious big-time YouTubers who were backing this thing and got really excited about it. And when nothing was happening with it, and they didn't really have a working prototype, and they didn't really have any kind of idea of how to do it, everyone just started stepping away and slipping away from it. And it just blew up.
Definitely. Like the interviews with these guys, they are oblivious to what's happening. Like, they're like, why do we need a prototype? We don't have any money, but we can get it. And they're saying that the 2 million, 2/3 of it, like 1.2 million, will be going towards the manufacture of the console. And then they started, just because they didn't know what to say, they kept on talking about their profit margins. Oh, our profit margins are so low, it doesn't matter. What's the next question? How about these games? Oh, our profit margin is low, so we can do this. It's like, we don't care about if you make money. Can you make this what what you stated? Can you make it? And they're like, well, if we had to design a whole new shelf for the consoles, then you would have to pay like $50 more. So we used the Jaguar stuff because we didn't have to, and it costs like $5 a piece. But our margins are really low. I'm like, oh my God, I don't care about you anymore.
Yeah.
Once you start overlapping what you say, you pretty much don't have a clue on what's going on.
Yeah, and then they did have a couple of first-party games that were coming out for it, and I can't think of the names of them off the top of my head. But they were just games being made by them. They look like fun little platformers, something that could be done on like the Genesis or something. I mean, they look like neat little games. And then on the Kickstarter page, they had a whole section of game developers that are big-time game developers making games for the Wii U or the PS4 or the Xbox One or the Ouya, the Android devices. And it just said, like, these developers are looking into making games for the Retro VGS. Or it would say, like, these people may make games for Retro VGS. And they list all these, like, huge games, like Volgar the Viking and Shovel Knight and all this stuff, list down there. And it's like you're scrolling through and you're like, man, like, that was like, if this could actually happen. But they don't anywhere say that these developers are signed up to make games for this. And they even like, trick you even more by having the cartridges themselves with like computer photoshops of like the names of the games on them, like read-only memories in a cartridge format, like or Towerfall in a cartridge format, like all these games that are famous downloadable only games on these cartridges to make you think like, holy crap, I'm going to buy this game system to play these retro games that are retro style games on this thing and get actual physical copies. But it basically like it's trying to sort of go after that collector market of people that buy video games that don't even play them. They just let them sit on shelves. Like, oh, I need to get this system to collect them all and get my physical copies of Shovel Knight and put it on the shelf up next to my Mega Man 6s and, you know, whatever. Like, it's almost kind of the way that they were talking in those interviews. They weren't saying like, oh, these games are going to play so well or these games are going to be amazing and revolutionary. They're like, they're going to look good on a shelf. Like, awesome, they're going to look good on a shelf. Great. And then I don't know if you I know you listened to an interview or two, but did you hear anything about the crazy ideas they had for bugs? Like the ideas that they had about games that are released these days that when they have a bug in them, then they have to patch it. And their whole idea is that you'll never, ever have to patch one of their games that are on the Retro VGS games because they will be bug-free when they're released to the public. Like,
that's bull.
How can you? There are no games that are completely bug-free. Like, there are Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and I mean those Super Nintendo games or N64 games. There are bugs in them. Mario 64, Ocarina of Time. These games that had hundreds of unit testing and QA people. Like, they have bugs in them. Like, you're not going to be able to get a game that's bug-free. And then they said in one of the interviews was that if a game did come out that had a crippling bug in it, like if someone found something that made the game unplayable or whatever, like say Assassin's Creed Unity style or whatever, they would take them all back as sort of a recall and fix them and send them back out to you. Yeah.
That's
and
bull.
yeah, exactly. And then what do you do? What do you do then when you have a game that's going to be released on Steam simultaneously with a game that's released on the Retro VGS? Like, you have a game that comes out and say it's like 99% perfect, but there's a bug. So the Retro VGS game gets postponed for a couple of weeks. But that Steam game comes out already. And what happens when people run into that issue? They just patch it. And you're able to still play it. It had the bug, but now it's patched, it's fixed. Now you've already played through it. This game hasn't even been effing released yet because they're still trying to figure out how to patch a cartridge. It's just, they just sounded like idiots. And the ideas are cool. Like, you don't have to log into a user account. You don't have to install the game on your systems. You don't have to do this. You just put the game in and you play it and done. Like, that's it. There's no download. There's nothing. But you forget about the fact that there is ordering it from an online company or going to a store or doing all these things that add way more time to it than just downloading it overnight and waking up and playing it the next day or whatever.
These guys did not sound at all thrilled at all in their interviews. Like, you're like, hey, how's it going? And they'll be like, good. So our council, like, they already knew that they were like facing defeat while they're trying to promote this.
Yeah.
And honestly, with like retro gaming, if I wanted, to like spend all this money to play games on cartridge and that, I'll just, pick the ones I know and trust, like Nintendo or, Sega, because I know their games are good. I've played them before, Why should I like risk all my money on this one that the games might be complete, dog crap when they can't even understand what's going on in their own company?
Yeah, I mean, that's really true. I think some of the best messages that have been out there, just from people in the community and on Atari Age or on Neo Geo or on PC Engine FX, the best message that I've seen or read from people is just, hey, you want to spend money on something that shows you're into retro gaming or whatever, get into homebrew Like, support homebrew developers, people that are making new Super Nintendo games, new Genesis games, new Atari Jaguar games, you know, new PC Engine games. Like, get into supporting those people, because if you see a game that comes out on an old system, but it's a new game, and maybe it's not the best game in the world, maybe it's pretty cool, but it doesn't seem quite as good as the games you played when you were a kid, support them anyway, because that 20, 30, 40 bucks that you sent to them is going to go towards them developing more newer stuff, and they're going to get better and better and better each time they make a new game. That's the route you should go, because they're playing or they're developing games for systems that we already own, or systems that you can get very easily at a thrift store or a pawn shop or whatever. I mean, games for the Genesis, games for the Neo Geo. Like, there's the Neo Dev team. There's just so many good homebrew developers out there, and that's where your money should be going, not to these idiots at the retro VGS that are just making a system that nobody has a clue if it's going to even be a system. And right now, it's not. So support.
Yeah, I think the big thing is support the people that have the excitement, you know, backing whatever they make. If they have that fire in their eye, if they actually want to do this, support them instead of some dudes going, we could probably make money off of this.
The eye of the tiger, if you will.
Ha ha!
Why? Don't ever do that. Why would you do that?
This? Just
oh my
totally
God! Oh God!
Screw my focus out at all.
Oh God! No! Don't ever do that.
Not the eye. Not the eye. Anything.
All right. So I wanted to show one last thing, and also thank everyone for coming on here. I think this is a good test. This is a good first episode. I want to do this every week. Anybody that's interested in being a part of it should definitely let me know, either on Facebook or on the YouTubes. And Ben, if you're going to come back and do more episodes, that would be fun. We're going to try to get a lot of different people in this, so you might not see Ben every week, but I definitely invite you to come back and have fun with us again. But my last pickup that I just got in the mail today, and I'm really excited about it, is a Neo Geo MVS cart. Speaking of Neo Geo, and the MVS games, I don't know if you know about this, but it's a multi-video system. These are games you can put in arcade cabinets to play, and it is Metal Slug 1, the first Metal Slug game, which is still kind of my favorite one out of the series. But I can't wait to pop this in and play some of that on my Neo Geo. That's something new that I got. I'm pretty stoked about that one. But in other news, or not really in other news, but in what was it? Ben, you distracted me. Are you picking your nose?
No. No.
What is?
I'm not.
God, what?
I was
anyway,
just. I was in awe at the Metal Slug.
It's a fun game. It's a great game.
It is. I love the franchise.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I've played all 7, and I think they're fun games. But we're gonna go ahead, and I think we're gonna end this now. I think what we're gonna try to do is 1 hour each episode. So right now we're a little over an hour, but that's okay. That's totally fine. We didn't get like kicked off or anything. So I am very, very excited to have seen the number of viewers go up to, I think, 5 or 6 at one time. That's really cool to see that many people logging in for our first time ever. We didn't really even like advertise this or talk about it or promote it at all. So that's really cool to have people live watching it. And I hope we eventually have a lot of people watching it on YouTube when it replays. You can watch anytime on the Game Huggers or my own Joshua Yeager YouTube channel. But I thank everyone so much for participating and for watching. And Ben, I thank you most of all for being here with me and doing this fun little run. Have you been? That was a strange view. Anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to sign off. I thank you very much for checking us out. You can always talk to me on Facebook or on this YouTuber thing here. You can message me here or comment on the videos. Tell us what you liked or what you didn't like. Let me know anything at all that you'd like to have us talk about next time. And you can also follow me at the little thing right there. It says @_Joshua Turbo. That's my Twitter handle. You can find me on Twitter, and don't forget the underscore, as it is the most important underscore in all of the internet. Thank you, Ben. We will see you and talk to you guys next week. Take it easy, guys.